its reservoir deposits.
Okay.
So whenever gas comes to mind, one of the most commonest gas is the liquefied petroleum gas, which is the cooking gas that we know about. The cooking gas is entirely a different form of gas, a different type of gas from the CNG, because it's a product of a refining process. It goes through refining to be able to come out of it. But this one comes out natural as it is from the extract. It's just to be able to guide it, bring it, put it in storage, and be able to put it into use. And besides CNG and LPG, there are also other forms of gas that people, we do not have concerns with.
Okay.
Let's take, for instance, the gas that you use in your AC.
Okay.
There is a gas that is being used for the AC. You have it in the cars. You hardly see people come out and complain about it because it doesn't seem to pose any type of threat. Now, CNG is closer to that gas that you use in the AC than the gas used for cooking.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. We also have the liquefied natural gas.
Okay.
That's the LNG.
Okay, that's apart from. Now
from
we have the CNG.
Yes.
We have the LPG.
LPG, yes, on the petroleum side.
On the petroleum side. Then we
Yes.
have LNG.
Yes, that's the liquefied natural gas. That's also another form of gas. Some vehicles and industrial activities use that one also. It's also very different from that LPG that you talk about.
Wow.
There is a gas that is also used in the hospitals, the one that used for oxygen.
Okay.
That's also another form of gas.
Okay.
Yes, but they are different. There are many forms of gaseous elements, you understand, type by type. But what we're talking about now is basically the CNG.
CNG.
So CNG is a compressed natural gas. It's one of the things that you get in the purest form when it comes to gas. It's not a process of a refined product at all.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about the safety of this particular gas, because what happened in Malaysia? Malaysia used that CNG for so many years. So it's shocking to hear that all of a sudden they just said, we want this to phase out. And some are saying no. In fact, some persons came out online, though I don't know whether they just want to pay lip service or maybe they are just sycophants and all. But then some persons who people know them to be working for, the presidency, they came out to say, in fact, in Malaysia, they're talking about LPG, blah, 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 and all that. And some said, no, it's CNG. But thank God the presidency came out again to officially talk about it, comparing with what happened in Edo State and all. And they kept on reassuring us. But let's take that Malaysia issue, for example. Malaysia, it's not, it's a big country. And of course, so many Nigerians are dying, to get there. You hear of people saying, I want to go to Malaysia. So if such a country wake up one day and be like, okay, we don't want CNG in our country again because of safety issues, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, that Malaysian news, when it came up, I also came across it as soon as it came out. So I tried to look at what they were bringing up. First of all, Malaysia embraced the CNG initiative in the late 90s, according to them.
Okay.
So they came in also seeking alternative energy supply. They came into CNG in the late 90s. They used it all through. If you calculate from the late 90s to now, let's even use 1999. 1999 to today is 25 years.
Okay.
Now, these cylinders from manufacturing, from their point of production, have expiring dates. The recommended time for it, just as cars. You see, some cars have a mileage. They say this is a stipulated mileage. This is a stipulated usage of the car, something like that. Although we from these parts of the continent do not actually keep. You see a car, someone can be using car for, you don't even want to know how long it takes. So they said that the lifespan of CNG cylinders is 15 years.
15 years, yes.
So the issues that the Malaysian government were presenting, one was the issue of expired CNG kits, CNG cylinder, that they have lasted above 15 years.
15 years.
That's one. Then the second one that they were also bringing out was the issue of modification of the kits, especially the cylinder, because in the cost of the CNG kits, the cylinder occupies almost 75% of the cost.
Wow.
Yes, it does. So there was a problem that was fundamental in Malaysia bringing in the CNG. And we also try our best to see how to advocate and bring Nigerian system to that consciousness so that we don't make the same mistake that Malaysia make. They didn't have a sensitive and active regulatory framework in bringing in the assimilation of CNG into their system. What am I talking about? When you are bringing in something of that nature, you know that right from time there's always been this cost. It's expensive compared to other items of its bracket. So long as that thing is expensive, people will begin to seek for means, you understand, to be able to get it cheaper.
Okay, better ways.
Yes, better ways. So they now said that there are modified kits.
Wow.
For instance, if you take 12.5 kg cylinder of LPG of gas, and you look at 15 kg cylinder of compressed natural gas, you would think that the both of them are the same.
Oh, seriously?
If you look at the both, you think that they are the same thing. But in the manufacturing of CNG cylinders, it's not something you take. It's not, you don't fabricate a plate. That's take a plate of iron, fold it and weld it. They don't weld it. There's no welded part of it. It is molded.
Wow.
Yes, it is. They bring it out. It's molded round. You don't see any welding this on it. It's not welded. That's one. Secondly, the standard, even with PICNG here, is above 0.7 something mm in thickness, and that's the reason why, as a young man, to be able to carry out 15 kg this thing of CNG cylinder, you can't carry it up. The empty one, you can't lift it up.
Wow.
Because of the thickness of the iron. And in fact, one of the disadvantages that people see in it is the weight on the boot of the car, because of the quality, the thickness that the CNG cylinder is made with. So if you are looking at it from the surface, you might think that modifying an LPG, that's cooking gas cylinder, can give you exactly that. And that was what happened in Edo State. That was what happened. Because it was at the point of dispensing that it exploded. It was when they went to test it and dispensing into it, that was where it exploded. So the issue of safety when it comes to CNG is just like the issue of safety that surround every other delicate or sensitive sector. Let's talk the aviation sector, for instance. You know that this jet fuel, the air fuel that you use to run aircraft, is highly inflammable. It's risky. But does it now pose serious security threats to travelers?
Not at all.
Why? Because there are regulatory enablements that are put in place to ensure that that thing becomes safe. Fuel, you know how inflammable PMS, that fuel is. How do you believe that you can put fuel inside your car? You have fuel in your tank, full tank, and you're driving to a long distance, even in this hot weather.
And some people still smoke while driving.
If fuel was something that was being introduced today, people will come out and tell you that if you put fuel in this weather, that you will not get your destination before your car will set ablaze. But that's not the reality. So the only thing there, when we're talking about safety with CNG, is to keep to the guideline.
Okay, keeping to the guidelines.
Yes, and that's maybe what we should look at now. What are the guidelines? What are the safety measures that needs to be taken? One of them is that you don't try to modify or to improvise this thing to get a cheaper kit so that it becomes cheap for you. It will endanger yourself and other users of your car.
Okay, definitely. I know that there must be guidelines, and thank God that you talked about the guidelines, and we are going to outline some of the guidelines to help you, to maintain safety if you are to use CNG. But then before that, I think I'm interested in that the kits now. I was with a driver at some point, and he said that in some places, there are places where they now do it in Abuja, for example.
Okay.
Some places are more expensive than the other.
Yes.
And does it mean that the more expensive, the better the engineers there?
No.
Not really.
No.
Okay.
The presidential CNG initiative has kits that are brought in by the government
And subsidized, I guess.
and subsidized seriously, even up to 50% subsidy on it.
Okay.
And it's targeted to commercial transporters so that it can be able to have effect on the people. Because commercial transporters convey people so that they can be able to, ease down the cost of transportation. Then besides that, there are also individuals that on their own, they approach these organizations for, for their own individual conversions.
Okay.
So the ones of the individual conversion where you come, you want to do your conversion, will be costly because government is not subsidizing yours.
Okay.
But the ones that are under the subsidy arrangement is far more cheaper. So that's why that price disparity is there.
Okay. Even before we talk about these the guidelines now, because today we're majorly talking about the safety, but then let's also look at how easy people can make it for drivers, because to cough out 1.2 million, even the 750k, where I heard that in some stations they are doing it for 750, those that I'm sure that must be from the government, the presidential initiative.
Yeah.
But then for 1.2, 1.3, 1.1, it won't be that easy. Don't you think the private sectors or private individuals should invest in it and do it in such a way that people can have their vehicles converted, then start to pay in installment?
Okay, like I've always said, the price of goods and services everywhere in the world is determined by the forces of demand and supply.
Okay.
So this the CNG idea, just recently got done on Nigerians. That was last year with the increment in the fuel, the removal of fuel subsidy and the hike in the cost of fuel. So people are now responding. And at the same time, the infrastructure to be able to meet up with this demand is just being put in place, one of these things. So what is actually happening is the relationship between demand and supply. I believe that at a point going forward, a time will come when there will be an equilibrium, when there will be a striking of a balance in that distance and the price will start going down. And that was why I gave you that instance that day, that when the telecom came up with the revolution in the early 2000s, there was a time that SIM card was going for as much as 20 something 30,000. Today we have it more cheaper than that. So with the cost of the installations and the conversions for the distance, I believe that with time, as more places, more of our services begins to come into the system, the price will.
So the majority should wait.
Yeah.
The majority should wait.
Well, I don't know. It depends on what.
Because reality.
The use, the need for the CNG might not be mandated on everybody. I don't know how much you spend on fuel daily. There are people that spends up to 30 something thousand daily.
Yeah.
The commercial district. People spend up to 100 and something thousand per week in fuel. That person has more pressing need for CNG now than you that with your 20,000 naira fuel, you can run front and back your work for a whole week. So you don't have a pressing need for that for now. So it all depends on how much cost of transportation is costing you. That fuel basically is costing you. That means the rationale or the wisdom behind you pushing for the conversion at the moment. Then for people that private players or private sector coming in, yes, is a welcome idea because it has its business opportunities, it has its own incentives in it. So people should come up, put up some dispensing stations, put up more conversion centers, even go through the the stipulated route to go into the importation of the kits. So if we have many places in Abuja here or any other part of the country where you can actually approach and buy, legitimately buy the kits, when everybody has it, the price will go down. You put your own on a high price based on where you bought and and that person can be able to bring his own thing. Competition comes in, the price start going down. So that's that.
Interesting. We'll wait for that day. But then for now, in fact, I posted some time ago that it's unfortunate that we now have CNG queues. Just like whenever we experienced the fuel scarcity those days, the kind of long queue you experience, that is what we now experience as regards CNG as well. In fact, it got to the point that along that Gosa side, because that is the most popular place in Abuja here, where they do this both conversion and even they also dispense there. It got to a point where the trucks started spoiling the road, and I had to scream on my show several times on Gidigba Assembly. I had to scream and scream, and to the point to the glory of God, I think we were able to drag the attention of not just the minister, but maybe the drivers themselves. After all, they love Nigeria, don't they? And now it might interest you to know that they've devised a strategy where they no longer park, by the roadside, but they now park inside that field. There's a place where they now park their trucks. It's a good one. Then let's now talk about the guidelines you were trying to talk about earlier, the guidelines, so that we can teach people on how to handle CNG for safety reasons.
Okay. First of all, there are regulatory agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of overseeing everything that have to do with the CNG.
Okay.
One of them is the National Automobile Development Council, NDDC.
Okay.
Then the other one is Presidential Initiative on Presidential CNG Initiative. That's the second one. Then the other one is the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, on the importation side or something like that. So they are the ones that look into the quality of what you're bringing in and know what quality meets with Nigerian specification for the use of CNG. Then for the use on the drivers, these are some of the, definitely, just like every gadget. If you go and you buy a computer, you buy an electronics or something like that, there are guidelines that you see with it. This how so you are being put through by the conversion centers. You know where you switch, because you can alternate between the use of petrol to the use of CNG. You can know where you dispense from, where your dispensing points are. You can know what to do when you feel that there is anything they are seeing. This is the next thing to do. So all these things are being, is when you have the thing here, they show you this is the name, this what it works. When you do like this, when you're going to this, all that. So all those, and it's not actually very complex.
Okay.
The CNG system is not a very complex system.
Okay.
It's something that, the component to look at it is just like every other. Like you get your car, you know where your fuel tank where to open it. You know where to open your boot. You know where to open your bonnet. So these are how those things are. So they guide you through it. It's not a complex.
Okay, we just have 1 minute. So in that 1 minute, you are assuring us that in the area of safety, CNG is indeed safe to use if you properly follow the guidelines.
Yes, we give an instance to that. Okay, let's take Dangote PLC, for instance. They are one of the longest users of PNG in Nigeria. They've been using CNG for their trucks for the past 10 years. How many times have you heard that any Dangote trucks exploded for CNG?
Interesting.
So if the fear is the fear of the cylinder, because they have the quality, they do this thing. How many times have you heard, even with the accidents on the road,
and funny enough, their own, what do you call it now? Their own, the cylinder is even exposed.
Yes, it's outside. Yes,
placed.
And there are many. You have about 16. Each truck has about 16 big cylinders on it. How many times have you heard that Dangote this thing and it exploded?
Wow.
If you want to think about the safety, think about those ones.
Interesting. What's your final word, please?
Well, let's go CNG. Let's go green. Let's go more environmental friendly energy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prince Amadi, for coming on the show. And to you, listener, you've heard it all from him. It is safe, according to experts. It is safe, but then most importantly, it depends on how well you are able to handle yours. There's nothing that doesn't have advantages and disadvantages. It depends on you now. If you're driving a car, they tell you don't do this, don't do that. If you do otherwise, of course, you get to see the results. So everything in life, it depends on how you approach. It depends on how you approach those things. Until we come your way again next week, God willing, my name is Honorable Ape the Great. Do have yourself a swell time.
Do you want to know about cars? Everything about cars, from purchase to maintenance and even road use. Don't go too far. Listen to Top Gear on Eagles 102.3 FM every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Top Gear, let's give you a spin.